Welcome back to another edition of the Sammoooo Show. I'm your co-host, Dave Schultz, along with our co-host, the Sammoooo, Sam Schultz. Episode number 2. We appreciate it. Please subscribe on YouTube. So instead of going over the games, the conference games that are going on, and it gets to be old by the time you may see this, let's talk about the number 1 seeds that potentially could be number 1 seeds, and then how they're going to do in the tournament, and then we can react to the number 1 seeds next week before the tournament gets underway. All right, Sammoooo, who do you have as your number 1 seeds, and how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. School's been great. Basketball season's been fun.
By the way, that's an outstanding sweatshirt you have on. Just wanted to let you know.
I still owe you $20.
You do. Yes, you do. I'm never going to get that $20.
Never.
No.
I've lost a lot of money to you.
Yeah. Probably should make promises that you're not going to have any of my M&Ms. That's an easy.
Yeah, that was not smart.
That was not great either. All right. There seemed to be another bet in there too, right?
The Celtics.
Oh, the Celtics. That's right. Yeah.
I was sick on a boat when I made that bet.
That's right. You were. Yes. We're in Mexico. You were not happy at all. Anyways, all right. Back to the topic at hand. Who's your number 1 seed, there, Sammoooo?
I have the Kansas Jayhawks, the Houston Cougars, the Alabama Roll Tide, and the UCLA Bruins.
Okay. Now, who do you have as your overall number 1 seed?
Houston.
You have Houston, although they've only lost 2 ball games this year, right, in total? But one of them happened to be against Alabama, and it was at home. Now, Alabama's playing in the SEC. That's obviously a much tougher conference than the American. You still think Houston, despite losing to Alabama, should be the number 1 seed, or at least ahead of Alabama?
Yes. Because although Alabama has had a harder schedule, Houston deserves their credit for basically staying up with the big teams coming from the American Conference. So,
all right.
Not many teams can do that.
No, that's true. And that was a really good basketball game. Alabama didn't blow them out, although Alabama was getting blown out, and they came back against Houston. All right, so let's talk about Alabama. And obviously, it's going to be an interesting tournament. I'm interested to see on how the TV partners deal with everything that's happening with Alabama because, down here in Alabama, obviously Brandon Miller is a huge story. He is not technically legally responsible for, delivering the gun that ended up costing somebody their lives. One of his other teammates is being charged and held with that. So Brandon Miller didn't make the John Wooden Award finalist, but did win SEC Player of the Year. How do you think Alabama is going to deal with all of that when it comes to the NCAA tournament? Because all of the questions have been asked by the local media. Now they're going to get the national media is going to harp on them again. How do you think they're going to deal with that?
I think this team has a big chip on their shoulder and has gone through tough weeks for the past couple months dealing with their off-court behavior and just losing some games, but they're going to try their hardest and think about just basketball and as a family and play together.
Yeah, I happen to think it's going to be easier when they get out of conference because everybody is familiar in the SEC with the way Nate Oates plays, and you can see it on film, but trying to defend it or play offensive against it could be interesting. And then, Brandon Miller is really unique, a 6'9", 6'10". He's kind of the, Jabari Smith, Boncaro combo guy, right? Because he can light it up from the outside and, take it to the hoop. I think I'm going to pick Alabama to win this thing. I think Alabama is going to win this thing.
You think Alabama's going to win?
I do. I think Alabama's going to win the national championship. I think they've been the best team in America for most of the season. Again, those conference teams like an A&M, it's not the easiest thing to do, but it's easier when you are familiar with them and have a couple of days to prepare. Whereas, the first round, you have 3 or 4 days to
Election
prepare,
Sunday.
depending on when you play.
Yeah.
But, you may only have 1 day to prepare, for, the chance to go. You only have 1 day to prepare for the chance to go to the Sweet 16. And then the
Yeah.
Elite Eight is only 1 day to prepare. So I think Alabama is a tough matchup for most of the teams in the country. We'll see if they end up playing a 2 seed or not. What do you think about the Alabama Crimson Tide chances to win the championship?
I think they're going to make the Final Four with possibly Kansas. I think it's going to be Bama and Kansas. And I think Kansas is going to come out and win.
Oh, you think Kansas is going to be back-to-back champions?
I think so, yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, you heard it here first. The Sammoooo predicting back-to-back champions. Do we know the last team that did that? I mean, Villanova didn't do that, right?
No.
I mean, do we got to go back to like UCLA?
Was
Duke?
it Mike
Duke.
Krzyzewski? Yeah, Duke.
Did Duke do it? When?
Wasn't it 2014 and 2015? No.
I don't think Duke's ever gone back-to-back, right? Let's do a quick check. NCAA basketball
Duke sounds familiar.
champions. Maybe did Duke win it back-to-back? Dude, no, not Villanova won 2 out of 3, 16 and 18.
What year?
Florida won it back-to-back. Billy Donovan's team won it back-to-back, 06 and 07.
Oh.
Duke's never won. Oh, Duke won it back-to-back in 91 and 92. You're right.
Well, I was thinking more like the 2010 era or something.
Yeah, no.
I thought Krzyzewski brought them back-to-back in the new era.
So so Leitner and Hurley won it back-to-back, and I think that's Mike Miller's crew there, right? Who won it back-to-back for Billy Donovan's Gators. So they're the last team to win it back-to-back. So 06, 07. I mean, we're looking at 17 years since it's 16, 17 years since someone went back-to-back in the Sammoooo. Sam Schultz is predicting that. Do you got anybody who could make a run? UConn has had this ridiculous season, right? Like, I'm not even sure they were ranked in the top 25. And they got all the way up to, the top 5, right?
Yeah.
They beat Alabama, in fact. They beat Alabama. And
what was that game? Was that UConn?
Was it a tournament game? Why do I think it was was it in the Bahamas or something? I don't think was that in Connecticut? I don't think so.
It might have been like one of the early season little tournaments they do.
Yeah, that's what I think. Let's see what we got
like
here. Alabama
NYC or something.
Yeah, I'm with you. Let's see here. Phil Knight Invitational. Yeah, the Phil Knight Invitational. So that was out in Oregon. And then they beat number 1 North Carolina. After that, did Alabama in that crazy 4 overtime loss or 4 overtime.
North Carolina's gone on a big downfall, being preseason ranked 1 and not. I think this is the first time in NCAA history where a team is ranked preseason number 1 and they don't make the NCAA tournament.
They very well might not. Let's see if we got rankings.
Yeah. Unless they win the ACC tournament.
Right. Well, they could win a few games in that tournament and get in there. I was kind of looking for, let me see if we got like weekly AP top 25 rankings, UConn, because they have been absolutely all over the place, right?
Yeah. They jump spots every week, I feel like.
Like, I don't think they were in the top 25 to begin the season.
I don't think they were top 50. I don't think they were like even close to the top 25.
And then like 3 weeks in, they were, let's see here. All right, so we got it. Preseason. I got it right here. Preseason, UConn. Let's see, were they even getting votes? They were 27th in the AP top 25. In the coaches poll, 26, 27, 28, 29. All right. So that's preseason. Let's see where they are like after week 3. Are they in the polls yet? They are not in
No.
the AP poll yet. They were not in, they were at 22 in the coaches poll. I'm sorry, they were 20th in the AP top 25 week 3 in. All right, so
How
now
many
let's go
votes
to week
did they
5.
get?
Week 5. So a month into the season, they're 5th in the nation and they're 9-0 in both polls. In both polls. They got to number 3 in both polls the next week. And then they were undefeated. They were 12-0. And they were number 2. Did they actually get to number 1? Did
No,
Purdue
they
lose?
didn't.
I'm still.
I don't think they did.
So halfway through, no, then they lost. All right.
Yeah, they lost and then
So
went back down.
all right. So they went the first 2 months without losing. Let's see where they were like a couple of weeks ago. They were already back down to 20 in the AP poll, and they weren't. Hold on. And they were 23 in the coaches poll. So they've been all over the place. Do you see a team like UConn that could make a run? I thought Tennessee could make a run, but they lost their point guard. He's out for the season with that knee injury.
Yeah. Anyone?
Anybody. I mean, legitimately, not anybody, right? I mean, do you think Pitt could make a run?
I really think Kentucky could make a run.
That does not make you particularly happy.
It very well doesn't. When a couple weeks ago, they shut Auburn up by like 30 or something.
Yeah, they did.
And Carson Wallace or something went for like 38 points for like the Kentucky record or whatever.
So you think the Wildcat? What do you think has changed? What's changed with Kentucky? That's a great team. What's changed with them? Because about a month ago, Sammo, they were talking about maybe 2 months ago that John Calipari was going to get fired, that he was done. Alabama, was it the night? Maybe it was right after Alabama beat Kentucky. That's when all that story came out. And it's one thing for Alabama football to beat Kentucky. It's another thing for Alabama basketball to beat Kentucky. And what's changed? You're there in Louisville. What has changed with the Kentucky Wildcats?
I think, well, I saw a press conference and it said John Calipari, when they're in the hotel, they collect their phones at 10 o'clock.
That's right.
He started that this season or so. And they went on like a 4-game winning streak with that. And he keeps doing it and they're getting much better and better. That could
they're staying off social media. What's that?
That could be a factor, not staying up till like 2 a.m.
Right.
And then they wake up and they're like, where's my phone? And they have to go downstairs and eat breakfast with their teammates and talk about the game plan and not be on the screen.
That's right. Yeah. So, they're not doing it on social media. They're not texting their friends. People say that's one way to end up, staying up. You can't fall asleep. It is interesting on how that may be the case. So the Kentucky, to Sammoo's demise, could make a run. That is not going to go over well in the Sammoooo household.
I give up, basically, on talking trash about Kentucky because Louisville's season just ended today with the 18-point loss. We were up 3 at halftime. It's just ugly.
That was a bad season, Sammo.
It was not good.
That could be another question. That could be another podcast. Is Kenny Payne coming back?
I think he is.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
We could have that. We could have that as another episode. All right. So that is good for episode number 2 of the Sammoooo Show. Please be sure to subscribe to YouTube. Just search the Sammoooo Show. And we'll have it wherever you get your podcasts as well. We'll come back next week. We'll recap and look at the brackets and then make our selections from that as well. Maybe we'll see some upsets. Do you fill out your brackets? You fill out brackets?
No.
All right. Well, we'll change that this year.
Okay.
All right. You'll
I
fill out
get
your
too
brackets.
upset.
Because
I
when I
get
fill
way
out the
too upset.
brackets, I kind of, you know, fill it out and then see who I pick to see if we can get somebody to make a run. So we shall
Last
see.
question. Do you think there's going to be a bracket buster like what happened last year with Kentucky and what was the team?
St.
Yeah.
Peter's.
Yeah, St. Peter's.
So
Do you think
I'll give you one. We'll see the matchup. Joe Lunardi has the Raging Cajuns from Louisiana, the Sun Belt champions, as a 14 seed.
Mhm.
He's got them locked in with Tennessee. Now, most people are going to pick Tennessee over the Raging Cajuns. The thing is, the Raging Cajuns have this guy, Jordan Brown, who's really good. And there's
Mm.
not a lot of guys, Kentucky being one of them, and actually Tennessee, another one, who have guys in the inside, post players, right?
Mm. Mhm.
But not a lot of teams have that.
No.
Jordan Brown could be trouble for, a big time opponent where you may get a lot of guys like, a team like Alabama, and that's a bad matchup for the Cajuns. That's a bad matchup for anybody
It's
who's
like
got a bunch of shooters. But if you
yeah.
can't slow down Jordan Brown, that could be a problem. He is a human double-double, and he's a monster inside. He is. I say he's a poor man's Oscar Shibwe, but he's not that poor. He's really good.
Yeah.
So I would say if you want a bracket buster, and that could be some recency bias, it could be the Raging Cajuns, depending on the matchup. If somehow they get to be a 14 seed and against a 3 seed, we'll see who that 3 seed is. They should be on upset alert right now.
We'll have to see.
We'll have to see. All right, we'll come back and do another Sammoooo show again next week once we know the brackets. Thanks for hopping on the Sammoooo show there, Sam, and we will talk to you next week. Thanks so much.
Bye.